Hello, everybody. I'm back today with a found footage movie review. I know it's been a long time. I've kind of just been focusing on my Twitch the last few months, getting that taken off, making sure I've got all of my ducks in a row, and doing that all with work has been it's been busy. So I haven't been able to keep up with things like I want, but that is now changing. And I'm getting back to my found footage reviews. Expect to see more videos out of this TikTok from now on. My goal right now is going to be 2 a week. I want to initially say one on Saturday and one on Thursday. The days might change depending, but that is my goal currently. So today we have a found footage movie found for free on Tubi and Found. It is on Found. And that is where I watched it. And I want to tell you a little bit about Found. Found is another free streaming service, kind of like Tubi. But it is exclusively for found footage films. This is going to make my life so much easier. I can't even tell you how difficult it is to go through Tubi and try to find a found footage movie. They're not tagged. There are some that it's a category, but you can't just look the category up. It's not easily tagged. So Found is specifically for found footage, which means I'm going to be using them a lot. I am currently paying for their premium. Their premium is, I believe, $3.99 a month. It's very affordable. You don't get commercials once you do that. And so currently that's what I'm doing. And I encourage you to go check Found out. They are, as of now, in early access, but going on October 1st, they're going to be releasing a found footage movie every day of the month of October. And I plan to try to review all of those as they come out. So we'll see where that goes, but you should definitely check out Found. Now, on to the movie. The movie I watched is called Caviar. Like I said, it's available on Tubi, but also on Found. I encourage you, once Found is out, to watch it there. And to even start with Caviar, I'm going to need to tell you about the World Economic Foundation, the WEF. This is going to go weird places, you guys. This movie is weird. And it touches on some real life stuff that is political, real life stuff that is social. It's like, I'm just warning you, if you don't want to hear about conspiracy theory stuff, I'm using air quotes, you can't see, click off. Because this movie is full of that. And that's part of why I love it, right? So the WEF is this organization founded by Klaus Schwab, this German dude. And it's basically an organization of like 1,000 companies that all come together and try to shape the way our society worldwide is conducted. And that sounds a little weird. Swear to you it's true. I'm going to put some stuff in right here about the WEF and what they get up to. This is not me being political. This is me being neutral and telling you about an organization. So I'll put it right here.
The World Economic Forum is an international non-government organisation that doesn't technically have any practical power like the IMF, World Bank or World Trade Organisation does. Even still, every year it attracts some of the most powerful economists, policymakers, business executives, celebrities, religious leaders, journalists and politicians to a summit that it holds in Davos, a small skiing town in Switzerland. With no real international function, it can be hard to understand why so many powerful people go so far out of their way to attend an event that has been mired in controversy almost since its inception. The World Economic Forum itself honestly hasn't done much good to ease those controversies, and has in many ways intentionally made them worse by pushing ideas that most people might even agree with in ways that are clearly going to be controversial, inflammatory, misleading, and worst of all, counterproductive to the arguments they're trying to make.
Okay, now that that's out of the way, now that I have been able to tell you a little bit about the WEF, we can get into the actual movie. The movie Caviar starts. And it starts with Klaus Schwab from the WEF welcoming us. And the title card says it's powered by Project Bluebeam. This factors into the movie if you know what Project Bluebeam is. Project Bluebeam, another conspiracy theory, is this theoretical conspiracy theory that the government is working on these holographic systems to eventually bring, essentially make people see. There's two different versions of it. I can't remember the specifics. One is to make people see alien spaceships and aliens, and so that will help people unite under one world government. And I've heard another version where it's to make people think the second coming of Christ is arrived. And that will convince people to unite and cause a one world government. I've heard both versions. Right now I can't remember like the differences between them. But it says, it's like a little title card. It says it's powered by Project Bluebeam. And it opens on this woman crying, and her name is Antigone. And Antigone is a sister to a man named Jeremiah Corday. I can't say things. And Jeremiah is this YouTube personality who is now dead. He passed away. And he had important causes that he was after on YouTube. He was an independent reporter on YouTube, which in its own right, kind of fictional, right? Independent reporter on YouTube. They don't really allow that at this point. But there is a rumor that Jeremiah has been killed. And she says no, his brakes did cut out, but it was because they were always on him to look after his car, and he never took maintenance on it. So no, he wasn't actually killed. For his reporting, it was just an accident. She goes on a talk show. She decides to try to continue his show, right? His YouTube show was very successful, and she wants to honor his memory. So she goes on this show called Tim Remus Talks, where her brother was once an intern. And from what I could tell, it's something kind of akin to Blaze, in that it is an independent journalist studio that can get interviews with people in high places, but isn't necessarily popular, and covers things that mainstream media wouldn't. So Tim was political. He hated Trump, but he hated Hillary Clinton more, which I can relate to. I may see a little of myself here in these guys. I didn't mean Tim, I meant Jeremiah. Jeremiah just didn't like politics in general. But he talks about it and how he dislikes the right, but he dislikes the left more, and the reasons why. And that's kind of where he stands on it. His sister is more left-leaning, but she continues his channel, right? There was like this one thing where they have this interview with Kamala Harris. Like I said, this is going to get political. You can't avoid it. This movie is a political found footage movie, which is very interesting. But they deep fake it, and so Kamala is up at the podium, and Jeremiah is talking to her, like from the press corps. He's in the press corps talking to her, and they're talking about how Biden has imprisoned more immigrants than Trump ever did, and talking about that kind of stuff, and Kamala kind of brushes him off and laughs it off. They use AI voices to mimic to him talking to Don Lemon, which, like I said, deepfakes are a big part of this movie. And Jeremiah was reporting on Cuomo and the death rates of the nursing homes during COVID time in New York, which were huge. A lot of old people were dying in these nursing homes. And at the time, he was reporting on that and kind of digging into that. Getting away from the politics just a little bit, Antigone receives a package. And this package has a note in it, and it says to use Jeremiah's laptop and to film the screen of the laptop while watching a video, and there's a camera included. And the video is Jeremiah. And Jeremiah says that he's alive, everyone's in danger, and that something bigger than 9/11 is going to happen soon. Much bigger than 9/11. and to keep recording everything and to go point the camera at the sky. So she does. She stops the video, goes to point the camera at the sky, and there are spaceships. And later on, we find out the reason nobody's talking about these spaceships is people aren't seeing them, but she's able to. She's seeing these spaceships just appearing over houses and then eventually leaving. When she returns to the video, he tells her to record everything and tell nobody that he's alive, not even their senile father. So there's these little weird interstitials in this movie with politicians. So AI Hillary tells us about what we're seeing are gods, and that alien gods demand sacrifice. And if you remember what I told you about Project Bluebeam in the beginning, that's where that ties in. It seems that behind the scenes, Project Bluebeam is occurring to some degree, right? She has her senile father destroy her old laptop. And at one point, her father is seen sneaking up with her, like behind her with his hammer, but nothing happens, really. I don't really know. I think that was just put in there as a red herring. It never really goes anywhere. It happens a few times, but it never really happens. Like, nothing happens with her. So she goes and speaks with his publisher, with Jeremiah's publisher. And apparently they set up an interview with AOC. And the sister, Antigone, is like, oh my gosh, she's one of my heroes. I absolutely would love to interview her. And so they set it up to go on Jeremiah's channel. And he also wants her to continue and curate Jeremiah's blog and help him put together a book made out of the blog and that kind of stuff. Another interstitial happens with George W. Bush talking about how people are mistaken that war is an industry and that human blood is more precious than gold. And then we go back to Antigone. And she goes into Jeremiah's apartment to find his laptop and something secret that he said was hidden in the... I forget what it's called. The tank of the toilet. That's it. And she runs into his publisher. His apartment has been broken into, and he gives her this BS story about how he got a call, and so he came to check it out. He had a laptop under his arm. She can't find his laptop, so she chases after him, and after confronting him really passively... Excuse me. After confronting him really passively, he hands over the laptop. It was Jeremiah's laptop. He's like, oops, that was an accident. It wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose. He was trying to take it. She gets the laptop back, and then in the bathroom, in Jeremiah's bathroom, there's this weird stop-motion owl that shows up with glowing red eyes, and the eyes flash and the bird disappears. It was really weird, and she kind of pokes at it with a spatula before it disappears. There was a cell phone in the toilet tank, and Jeremiah calls her on it and says that she needs to leave the house. Another thing happens where her dad comes up behind her with a knife again, but he's dressed like an owl now, and he says it's to protect her, to scare them away. And her dad remembers there were owls, and it felt like they were inside of him like a vampire, like vampire teeth. I told you this movie's weird. I've still got 3 pages of notes, so this is a long one, guys. His conspiracy theorist named Caesar, who is clearly kind of an Alex Jones stand-in, right? And she doesn't like him, because like I said, she leans to the left. So he's been contacting her, and we kind of get this really low-budget article sequence where he talks about Noam Chomsky and how everything happening right now is a psyop. He calls owls a psyop, and then he starts to go into what owls have to do with alien abductions and mutilations and how important they are. He gets into how they've always been a messenger for the spiritual realm, and alien abductions often end up having something to do with owls. Naturally, then he gets into Bohemian Grove, which, if you don't know, is this place where elites, both on the left and the right, elite men specifically, get together, there's this ritual that is supposedly a play, and this is real. Again, there's footage of it. It's definitely not fake. It's either a play or it's not, but it's not fake. They get together and they do this big fake human sacrifice to this giant statue of an owl god. I promise you this is real. I'll put in some footage right here. So anyway, yeah, it's real. And he talks about that. And so he's making all these connections with owls. And as we remember, Antigone saw an owl earlier. So one of the interstitials says that today is launch day. There's been these little cards, like day by day. And today is launch day. It's day 0. So on launch day, she has what was in the bag. And Jeremiah calls and said she's in danger and someone is picking her and her father up at midnight. And to be ready. So that same day is the day she interviews AOC, who is deep-faked with an AI voice. And AOC praises Jeremiah and talks about how he was talking to intelligence people. And in the interview, she says that if she finds anything from Jeremiah that was sent to her by intelligence operatives in the government, to send it to AOC's team, because that could be a security concern. Anything that is interaction with the government, she wants a hold of. So the publisher shows up at her door during this interview, and he starts asking after things, and government-related things too. But her senile dad walks out naked and kind of saves her butt. And so he leaves without asking for anything more. Another interstitial happens with Anthony Fauci talking about the pandemic and how it spawned new opportunities for power, and that people have been preparing for this since time immemorial. He says that specifically. So at midnight, someone comes to pick her up. Caesar emails her an interview with someone who died suspiciously, a guy named Colonel Moses. And Colonel Moses says things go deeper than MK Ultra. And if you don't know what MK Ultra is, I'll drop this right here.
Project Bluebeam is a 4-step plan that uses a combination of advanced technology and psychological manipulation to create an illusion so convincing that no one can distinguish reality from the illusion.
We must remember that the New Age religion is the very foundation for the New World government, without which the dictatorship is completely impossible. That is why the Bluebeam project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now.
Replacing every religion on Earth with a new single religion would not be an easy task. In order to succeed, Project Bluebeam would have to create weather events and man-made earthquakes. It would need to replace all the world's currencies with a single electronic currency. It would need to use holograms, augmented reality, and artificial intelligence. It would need a way to plant fake news stories and propaganda and distribute those to the masses directly, circumventing all news media and elected officials. When Serge Monast exposed Project Bluebeam, these technologies just didn't exist yet. But now they do.
He talks about adrenochrome, which it's an important thing for this movie too. Adrenochrome is this theory that people are using blood to essentially prolong their lives. That adrenaline-fueled blood, especially of younger people, is very beneficial to your health. And so the elites utilize that, which ties into the idea of child sacrifice and abortions and all of that, that somebody dying in fear has a lot of adrenaline in their blood, and the younger, the fresher the blood, the better, and that they use that. Like, this is actually really important to the plot. So you can roll your eyes at it, but that is the theory about adrenochrome, right? So the colonel says they want adrenalized blood, and that the government is actively working to contact other odd beings. They're not aliens necessarily, but they're beings from like a different plane. And the government is actively trying to connect with them, and that's what they need the adrenalized blood for. not so much as like an eternal youth serum, but rather the aliens feed on this and it helps connect us to them. So Antigone hears a ruckus and she goes into her dad's room after watching this video. And some of those stop motion owls are flying around him. And she falls over dazed and her dad is vanished. He's just no longer there. And she brings up that no one is talking about all the UFOs she keeps seeing. And she can't figure out why nobody's talked about it because they're everywhere. She goes back to the interview after her father has disappeared. And Moses talks about a blood as spiritual properties, which is why the interdimensional beings want it. And the publisher broke in again and talked about how Jeremiah was being lied to, he tells the sister. Jeremiah's being lied to. Someone's not telling him the truth. And it's dangerous. Project Bluebeam starts happening. There are aliens everywhere now. There's all these alien ships. And this guy shows up at 11:45 to pick her up. But he kind of starts talking weird. And he gets really deep into conspiracy stuff. And she gets concerned. And then the dude gets shot in the head. So there's blood everywhere. And then her brother pulls up beside at about, I'm assuming, midnight. So he was supposed to pick her up. And she gets into the car with him. And he drives her back to her house. And tells her by phone after leaving to watch a video. And the video is 2 owls eating. And when she looks outside while she's watching this video, she sees people in black robes in the backyard. So she locks herself in the bathroom. But Jeremiah ends up calling her and says, "Hey, Special Forces arrived. It's safe. Come on out." And so she does. And this is where things get really, really wild. This is the part of the movie I'm glad I was sober for. I hadn't had anything to drink, and I'm glad I did. Because this would be wild intoxicating, right? So there's like the bathroom door after she leaves it turns into like TV static, right? Old TV static. And her brother grabs her and drags her through that doorway. And then they're in a room. And she's acting weird. She had previously been drinking out of a water bottle. So the assumption is now she's been drugged, right? So she starts acting really sluggish and can't move very well. And they put her on a gurney. And by they, him. I mean, okay, get this, deep fake versions of Anthony Fauci, George W. Bush, Mitch McConnell, AOC, Hillary Clinton, and Vladimir Putin. And I think there might have been someone else, but he was cut off by the screen. But there's deepfake version of all these people in robes. And they lay the sister down on the gurney, and I think I forgot at the beginning to say she's pregnant. She's been pregnant through this whole movie. Right? And she's been getting really freaked out. So Jeremiah starts to tell her it's all a dream, don't worry about it. And she's been drugged, and she starts tripping. And as she's tripping, Anthony Fauci begins to slice her belly. You know, to begin to get the baby out. She's close to term. And they're slicing out the baby. And as they're doing that, she's tripping out and she's afraid. And Jeremiah is essentially telling her, we need you to be afraid. You need to be as afraid as possible. This is scary. And she sees Klaus Schwab over her, kind of speaking down to her, talking about all kinds of things. I can't even remember. There's trippy colors happening everywhere. The brother quotes Revelation from the Bible, and they slice out the baby, and that's the end of the movie. I don't know what I watched. I've been debating what to rate this movie on my system, because I kind of liked it. It's a bizarre movie. It's got an obviously really low budget. Like, it's some of the lowest budget I've seen when it comes to special effects and stuff. The stop motion owls were actually really cool. They did a good job with those. They don't look realistic, but they're very artistic. They're very nice. The alien spacecraft actually looked good too. But like the news segments, and it was really obvious that wasn't what it was. The use of deepfake technology to make a movie about the elites is interesting. I haven't seen a movie do that before. And this movie is replete with it. I'm going to give this movie a 2 out of 5. It is a trip. If you want to see a wild movie, especially if you're a little intoxicated or a little drunk or a little high, and you want to kind of get your mind blown by something, I think this might be a good movie to watch, especially the last part. Like, the last 10 minutes of the movie are wild. But I hope I've been able to kind of go over the movie properly. It's a weird one. I think I like it. I don't know if I'd recommend it to everybody, but it's an interesting watch. And I can thank Found for turning me on to it, because this is one that I never found on Tubi, because there's too many movies. Found really helps with that. So if you like found footage movies, on October 1st, go give them a follow on social media. Excuse me. Give them a follow on social media. They're Found on Social, I believe is their Twitter tag. And when October 1st comes around, give them a shot. If you like found footage movies, I definitely recommend them. And I hope this was an interesting and informative video. And I hope some of you guys don't think I'm crazy. But it's important to know, despite, even if you don't give a crap about this movie, it is important to know about the WEF and what people who run the world are up to. So I hope at least I was able to educate people a little bit. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves. Bye!